There's a certain kind of person who walks through the world like they're made of something thinner than skin. They feel the temperature of a room before they step into it. They notice when someone's voice changes by half a note. They carry the weight of other people's emotions without anyone asking them to. These are the ones who feel too much, the highly sensitive, the emotional absorbers, the people who don't just experience life, they experience it in surround sound, in full colour, in waves that never quite recede. If you've ever been told you're too sensitive, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it's like to feel everything so intensely that sometimes you wish you could feel nothing at all. But here's what most people don't understand. High sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a different operating system. And to understand these people, you have to understand that their nervous system is tuned to a frequency most others can't hear. Most people have emotional filters, little buffers between themselves and the world that help them stay neutral, stay protected. But highly sensitive people, their filters are made of lace. Everything gets through. They don't just hear your words, they feel the emotion behind them. They don't just see your face, they read the story written in the tension of your jaw, the exhaustion in your eyes. A piece of music doesn't just sound nice, it moves through them like weather. A movie scene can leave them shaken for days. A harsh word can echo in their chest for weeks. Psychologically speaking, these are people with what researchers call sensory processing sensitivity. It's a trait found in about 15 to 20% of the population, identified by psychologist Elaine Aron in the 1990s. It's not a disorder. It's a temperament. Their brains process information more deeply. They notice subtleties others miss. They're more affected by their environments, by caffeine, by violence on screen, by the energy of crowds. Brain imaging studies show that highly sensitive people have more activation in areas related to empathy, awareness, and sensory processing. When they see someone in pain, their brain lights up as if they're experiencing that pain themselves. They're not imagining it, they're literally feeling it. That's why a highly sensitive person can walk into a room and immediately sense tension no one has spoken about yet. They're picking up microsignals, tiny shifts in body language, tone, atmosphere. It's like having emotional sonar. But this gift is also a burden, because when you feel everything, you also feel too much. You feel the sadness in a stranger's eyes on the subway. You feel guilty for things that aren't your fault. You feel responsible for other people's happiness even when you're barely holding on to your own. You absorb emotions like a sponge, and sometimes you forget which feelings are yours and which ones you picked up from someone else. There's a term psychologists use called emotional contagion, the tendency to catch and mirror the emotions of people around you. Most people experience this mildly. Highly sensitive people experience it intensely. If someone near them is anxious, they become anxious. If someone is grieving, they grieve too. Their nervous system doesn't distinguish well between self and other. It's all just feeling, and that can be exhausting. Because while most people can compartmentalize, highly sensitive people carry everything with them. A fight from yesterday, a comment from last month, a loss from years ago. It all stays close, like stones in their pockets. You'll often find highly sensitive people sitting alone after social events, not because they didn't enjoy themselves, but because they need to recover. Being around people drains them, not out of dislike, but because they've absorbed so much. Every conversation, every laugh, every glance, it all registers. And by the end of the day, they're overstimulated, overwhelmed, full to the brim with feelings that aren't even theirs. So they retreat. They need silence the way others need sleep. They need softness, dim lights, quiet music, stillness to decompress from the intensity of existing. And people who don't understand this think they're antisocial or fragile. But really they're just managing an internal world that's 10 times louder than most. One of the most misunderstood aspects of high sensitivity is that it's often mistaken for anxiety or neuroticism. But they're not the same. Anxiety is fear of the future. High sensitivity is awareness of the present. It's noticing everything all at once without a dimmer switch. And yes, that can lead to anxiety, especially in a world that's loud, fast, and overstimulating. But the sensitivity itself isn't pathology, it's perception. Highly sensitive people see what others don't. They notice when someone's struggling, even when that person is smiling. They remember how you take your coffee, the story you told 6 months ago, the way your mood shifts when you're tired. They pay attention because to them, details matter. People matter. Connection isn't casual, it's sacred. But that same attentiveness makes them vulnerable, because when you care that much, rejection cuts deeper. When you notice everything, you also notice when people don't notice you. You see when someone's interest fades, when effort becomes one-sided, when love turns performative. And because highly sensitive people give so completely, they expect others to care with the same intensity. But most people don't, and that mismatch breaks their heart over and over again. There's a concept in psychology called depth of processing, the way we encode and remember experiences. Highly sensitive people process everything deeply. They don't just remember events, they remember how those events felt, what they meant, what they revealed. A single conversation can stay with them for years because it touched something true. A moment of kindness can restore their faith in humanity. A betrayal can shatter them completely. That's why they love so fiercely. When a highly sensitive person lets you in, it's not halfway. They don't date casually or befriend lightly. They invest their whole heart. They remember your fears, your dreams, the things you said you wanted when you thought no one was listening. They love like poets, like every moment might be the last, like connection is the only thing that makes life bearable. But this intensity scares people, because when someone loves you that deeply, it asks something of you. It asks you to show up, to be honest, to match their depth, and not everyone can. So highly sensitive people often end up feeling too much for people who feel too little, and that imbalance leaves them wondering if something's wrong with them. Spoiler, there isn't. They're just wired for depth in a world that often settles for surface. There's a loneliness in being highly sensitive that's hard to explain. You're surrounded by people, but you feel unseen, because most conversations don't go deep enough. Most connections don't ask the questions you're desperate to answer. You want to talk about meaning, about fear, about the things that keep you awake at 3 a.m. But everyone else is talking about weekend plans and weather, and you sit there smiling politely while your soul is starving for something real. That's why highly sensitive people are often drawn to art, music, writing, nature. Not as hobbies, but as lifelines. These are spaces where emotion is allowed, where depth is celebrated, where they don't have to shrink themselves to fit. A song can say what they can't. A painting can hold what they feel. A forest can offer the kind of peace that people rarely do. But even creativity has its limits, because no matter how much they express, there's always more feeling. It never fully empties. It's like trying to bail water from a boat that's always filling. So they learn to live with the overflow. They learn that feeling everything doesn't mean understanding everything. That sometimes emotions are just weather passing through. One of the hardest lessons for a highly sensitive person is learning boundaries. Because when you feel other people's pain as your own, saying no feels cruel. Protecting your energy feels selfish. But without boundaries, they burn out. They give until they're empty, then wonder why no one notices they're disappearing. They become so focused on taking care of others that they forget to take care of themselves. Psychologists call this hyper-empathy. Empathy so strong it becomes self-sacrificing. Highly sensitive people don't just understand your pain, they try to fix it, absorb it, carry it for you. And while that's beautiful, it's also unsustainable. Because you can't heal everyone. You can't save people from themselves. And learning that doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. The healthiest, highly sensitive people learn to honour their sensitivity without being ruled by it. They recognise when they're absorbing someone else's emotions and gently hand them back. They create routines that protect their nervous system. Morning rituals, time in nature, creative outlets. boundaries around their energy. They stop apologizing for needing more rest, more quiet, more gentleness than others. Because their sensitivity isn't something to fix, it's something to steward. There's something you should know if you love a highly sensitive person. They will notice everything about you, the good, the bad, the things you try to hide. They'll see your potential even when you don't. They'll believe in you with a ferocity that might make you uncomfortable. Because they don't just see who you are, they see who you could become. And they'll love both versions. But they'll also notice when you're lying, when you're half present, when your words don't match your actions. You can't fake depth with them. They'll feel the incongruence immediately, and they won't call you out. They'll just quietly pull away. Because highly sensitive people don't fight for connection that doesn't feel genuine. They'd rather be alone than tolerate shallow love. If you're highly sensitive, you've probably spent your life being told you're too much, too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. And maybe you've tried to harden yourself, to care less, to feel less. But here's the truth. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a form of intelligence, emotional intelligence, the ability to read between the lines, to sense what's unspoken, to hold space for complexity. The world doesn't always know what to do with people like you. It rewards toughness, speed, certainty. It tells you to get over things quickly, to move on, to stop overthinking. But you can't. Because your depth is not a choice. It's who you are. And that depth, when honoured, becomes your greatest strength. You're the friend people call at 2 a.m. because they know you'll answer. You're the one who remembers birthdays, who notices when someone's struggling, who offers comfort without being asked. You make people feel seen in a world where most people feel invisible. That's not weakness. That's power. Highly sensitive people are often the artists, the healers, the counsellors, the teachers. They're the ones who create beauty from pain, who turn feeling into meaning. They don't just survive life, they transform it. They alchemize their sensitivity into something that helps others feel less alone. And that's rare. That matters. But you also have to protect yourself. Because the same heart that loves deeply can also break easily. The same openness that lets beauty in also lets pain in. You have to learn that not every emotion requires action. Not every feeling needs to be solved. Sometimes you can just let it pass through you like clouds across the sky. There's a concept in mindfulness called emotional weather. The idea that feelings come and go like storms. They're temporary. Highly sensitive people forget this. They think because they feel something intensely, it must be permanent. But sadness is not who you are. It's just something moving through you, and learning to observe your emotions without drowning in them is one of the most important skills you can develop. You're not broken for feeling deeply. You're not too much for caring so completely. In a world that's increasingly numb, increasingly distracted, increasingly disconnected, your sensitivity is a form of resistance. It's a refusal to sleepwalk through life. It's a commitment to staying awake, staying open, staying human. Yes, it hurts more. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, you'll feel misunderstood. But you'll also experience beauty others miss. You'll find meaning in moments others overlook. You'll love in ways that change people. And when you find others like you, other sensitive souls, you'll finally feel understood. And that connection, when it happens, makes everything worth it. So don't apologize for your tears, for your depth, for your big, tender heart. The world doesn't need you to be less sensitive. It needs you to be exactly who you are. Because people who feel everything remind the rest of us what it means to be alive. Not just existing, but truly, deeply, painfully, beautifully alive. In the end, high sensitivity is a superpower disguised as a vulnerability. It's the ability to experience life at full volume while others live on mute. And while that can be overwhelming, it's also extraordinary. Because in feeling everything, you understand everything. You see the invisible threads that connect us all. You know that beneath every harsh word is a wound. that beneath every smile is a story, that everyone, in their own way, is trying their best with what they have. And maybe that's the gift of being highly sensitive. Not just that you feel deeply, but that you understand deeply. You offer the world compassion when it offers you chaos. You choose gentleness when you could choose bitterness. You keep your heart open even when it's been broken. That's not weakness, that's courage. The kind of courage it takes to stay soft in a hard world, to keep feeling when it would be easier to go numb, to believe in connection when you've been let down, to love again when love has hurt you. If that's you, know this. Your sensitivity is not something to overcome, it's something to embrace. Because the world needs people who feel, who care, who notice, who remember that beneath all the noise and speed and distraction, we're all just trying to be seen, to be understood, to matter. And you, with your too big heart and your too much feeling, you see people, really see them. And in a world where most people feel invisible, that's everything. So feel it all. The joy, the pain, the beauty, the ache. Let it move through you. Let it shape you. Let it remind you that you're alive. Because people who feel everything don't just survive this world, they illuminate it. Please subscribe and leave a like if you resonated with this video. It helps more than you think to support this kind of work. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you in the next one.